In a world where growth is very slow, in a world where interest rates are close to zero, where you can't get returns from saving your money, growth is what Myanmar is going to provide. The freedom that I feel in Myanmar right now is that much more pronounced because when I was growing up, it really was not there. Myanmar used to be called Burma, and we used to be part of the British Empire. In the 60s, Myanmar experimented with socialism and then went into various forms of dictatorship. We were afraid that phones are tapped. We were afraid to say anything to even friends and family, and you really felt that you were under surveillance all the time. Today, where you have complete freedom with press and people voicing their own feelings on Facebook, has been an amazing change. Elections were held, and I voted for the first time in my life. And the opposition party, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, who was under house arrest for a long time, won, and her party has just assumed power. 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to meet Aung San Suu Kyi in person in Parliament in a meeting with her discussing about education in the country. I was able to take a photo with her, so now I've achieved my bragging rights.
I had the pleasure of working very closely with Thiri
at the corporate development unit at Yoma Strategic Holdings.
Then I was the staff assistant to the chairman of the group, Pan, who is known internationally as the Mr. Clean of Myanmar. And he's a staunch advocate of anti-corruption efforts in business and in politics. One of the perks about working at Yoma Strategic was being present to witness these historic moments of Myanmar.
And in part of the liberalisation process, we actually saw the start of a stock exchange. It was the first stock exchange in the country.
FMI, the sister company of Yoma, was the first to get listed on the stock exchange after 5 decades of dark ages in Myanmar, so to speak. It was one of the moments that I won't forget.
The country has been growing 7-8% for the last few years, and in fact it was projected to be one of the fastest growing economies in the world. What Myanmar needs right now is capital. We need capital actually from outside. If businesses need to grow, our local financial sector is still not big enough. So I thought where I can bring my own expertise is to set up a boutique merchant bank. So what we aim to do is promote Myanmar and help more people interested in the country to come and invest here. It's quite common in the West to have investment advisory, investment banking firms, but over here in Myanmar, we don't have them yet. So that's what I've set up to do. I'm working now with some of the largest companies in the country, all the way down to complete startup entrepreneurs who might just have an idea. That has been very rewarding as well, to be able to help entrepreneurs here with the skill sets that I know from my MBA studies at London Business School. I also was involved in launching the first substantial TEDx event in Myanmar with Maythu.
I worked in non-profit organizations. I was involved with this really unique design social enterprise called Proximity Designs. We were launching these products that shrink the time that farmers spend on irrigation to just one morning. So then the girls can go to school instead of hauling water all day. After 2 years working in nonprofits, I switched to the business sector. I was involved with the launch of the KFC's brand introduction into Myanmar. KFC is one of the first international global businesses to have come into Myanmar after 5 decades of isolation. So even though it's just fast food, it means something. It's a symbol in Myanmar, and there were literally 2-hour-long queues. I also invested in a clothing label called CC, where I'm now acting as a branding advisor. It's a mid-range clothing label, and it shows how Yangon's consumer tastes are changing, and it's a very timely startup project for the current Myanmar. There is a lot of opportunities for Myanmar to grow, and investors should definitely be keeping Myanmar in their radar. I know that there's a set of rising middle-class consumers, and there's also a lot of room to grow in the lower end of the market.
If you look at the world today, you have very few markets that have yet to develop. So Myanmar is a frontier market, and in some ways it is a final frontier. It has the strategic location between India, China, and the rest of Asia, as well as access to the sea and the resources. Of course, path to growth is never straightforward. It's always going to be up and down and bumpy, but a country of 52 million being connected for the first time to each other and the rest of the world, where there's resources, we really have only one way to go, which is up.